Thank you, Sarah, and welcome everyone. So it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Orlando Ferro. Orlando is the Executive Director of Quinte Immigration Services located in Belleville, Ontario, and founder and administrator of the Quinte Local Immigration Partnership. Orlando also founded Central Eastern Ontario Translation and Interpretation Services, which is a social enterprise that is part of Quinte Immigration Services. Orlando is currently developing and implementing an agricultural pilot project with funds from the Canadian Red Cross that will train and help Syrian refugees to access the agricultural labor market and entrepreneurship in Ontario. So we're pleased to have Orlando with us today and very much looking forward to his presentation. Thank you for joining us, Orlando. Over to you.
And thank you for the invitation, and thank you for having me here this afternoon. We're going to have a brief conversation, and I have a PowerPoint presentation that is online now. I don't know if you all can see that.
Yeah. Yes, we can see it. So if you hit perfect.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so to start, I would like to give you a brief environment snapshot of the local community where we are. We are located in the Quinte region. It's a very big region. It goes from Bancroft to the north, to Picton in the south, Colborne in the west, and Napanee in the east. I would say that we have close to 21 wards and municipalities that we serve. It's a very big rural area, and of course we are a smaller organization in terms of comparing to the other ones in Ontario. We don't have a large number of frontline workers, and we try the best we can to make sure that our services are delivered with specific efficiency, so that all this large area and newcomers moving to the area are served. I would like to also to start to talk about the importance of networking when you are small organization in large areas. There are also stakeholders that we started partnering a few years back, local, regional, and provincial networks. We started by having some sort of, this was before the LIP was even funded. We started with the advisory committee for immigration, and to the point that you can see this in the screen there, how the LIP looks today. We decided to take a constellation model where we divided into the different aspects of the community, such as education teams, healthcare, economic development, employers group, and all is related to immigration. So we have those meetings, and we have had those for quite a few years now. Some of the meetings we have the whole of the LIP sitting at the table. We're talking about close to 51, 52 stakeholders at this point. And some of the meetings are specialized in specific areas such as health, and it could be economic development as well. So those are smaller meetings. And this is one of the ways that we have to make sure that the municipalities, who are also part of the local immigration partnership, have a vision, and out of this vision they can design new policies and plans so that we can have one of our main goals right now is attraction and retention of newcomers when the population in our smaller rural communities are decreasing. So this is another slide that I have here for the Quinte Local Immigration Partnership and how it's been divided since its inception. You see that there is a coordination between those stakeholders, as well as a very close relationship with the municipal governments, federal government, and provincial governments. We try to make sure that there is an attendance or a participation, at least through conference call, from all of them when we have those meetings. So resources has always been one of the challenges we have had, and a few years back we started thinking seriously of getting a little bit independent from government funding. So the idea of creating a social enterprise came about, and since we had a lot of newcomers already in the area that would be able to speak different languages, and their level of English was at that point in time sufficient to maybe find a good job, but we didn't have many jobs in the area. So the idea of starting interpretation services came about. We started training those newcomers who were fluent in English, and we started to do a certification process so that they would be able to work as a part-time or sometimes self-employment as a translator or an interpreter. So CEOTIS was born out of this idea, and nowadays it's close to, I would say, 25% of our reserve fund comes from CEOTIS, and also any unfunded activity. It's good to have funds coming from our own social enterprise when shortfalls from government traditional funders are not there. There are several ways of creating a social enterprises. Interpretation and translation was one that came, on the table on those days, and I know that some of the organizations are looking into that at this point in time as well. Resources sharing through the LIP, as I mentioned before, has been very important. I can give you one of the examples when we had the refugee crisis, and we were desperately looking for funding for a response to the crisis. Canadian Red Cross, which at that point in time had joined the local immigration partnership, came about, and we were able to obtain funding from them to create a new program that relates to refugees working in rural areas, mostly in the agricultural sector. And I will talk about this a little bit later on. Municipal assistance, we still haven't got to that point yet. It has been a long process. We have been doing several presentations to the municipalities, although we work with them in different areas such as anti-racism. Recently, City of Belleville, they have created a committee that deals with, it's called the Inclusive Committee, and it deals mostly with issues of anti-racism and oppression. It's a very inclusive community. So this is part of council, and we are part of that as well with different other stakeholders. City of Belleville also subsidies the building where we are located. It's a city building, and there are also several other communities in the building. So we share the space. It becomes very efficient in terms of cutting our costs, operational costs for rental and all that. Use of online tools, because we are in a vast area that goes from as I explained to you, it's a 200 kilometers corridor, west, east, south, and north. So we have a network of partnerships with different libraries in the smaller communities, and we also use a lot of applications such as Skype, although it's not the most private one, but at least gives a chance for clients to access a library if they don't have a computer and talk to the frontline workers directly. Once we needed to get some of their documents, there are other ways of making sure that we will obtain photocopies of PR cards, which is one of the requirements that some of the funders have to have in order to substantiate the funding that they pay us. If anybody again has a question, let me know. The most common allies of every project, and I would again mention municipalities, economic development offices. For quite a few amount of years, we have been doing some educational program in terms of conscientize the councils of those municipalities that immigration is really an answer for most of the problems. And I had mentioned before the aging population, the draft of young people from the smaller areas to the big centers, and they now are very aggressively doing some marketing campaigns to try and attract newcomers, even if it's second migration from the larger cities. We have one of the advantages we have compared to the big centers is that the cost of living is very, very cheap compared to, let's say, GTA or Toronto. Housing is also very cheap. And the employments, although they may not find a very high-paying job, but at least with the cost of living, it's an advantage just to move and have space. And it's a smaller center, but it's very nice. Community development groups. We have mentioned such as community development in different awards and municipalities. They are also sit in our table and discuss how we're going to make it better for newcomers when they arrive. Then health services, legal services, and local foundations. And I had also mentioned some of the stakeholders that were new to the table, such as the Canadian Red Cross, which is one of our funders nowadays. Now, last item here, it's very important to notice that media is your best friend, and mostly when you are in a smaller community. So try and get some access, or try and network with your local newspaper, editorial board, and have a good conversation about the importance of immigration with them. They will be very useful when you're trying to launch a new program or to talk more about what you do in the community. So the good example of how we were able to manage an amounting increase in the Syrian refugees in our region is how we put it in terms of a response. Quiz had a previous experience dealing with refugees during the Kosovo crisis, when 5,000 refugees came to the military base in Trenton, and they were managed very efficiently. 6 months after they have arrived, they already had found other destinations, and after the conflict, 1/3 of the people who had come to Canada, they moved back to Kosovo when it was safe for them to move. But those who stayed behind, there was settlement plans to make sure that they would adapt and also integrate into the local communities. Majority of them, though, moved to Quebec. So when we heard about that there would be another airlift, the first thought that we had was that maybe it would be coming to Trenton. So we started mobilization with the different communities. We had a very good response from the all kinds of sectors of the society. There was a call for, people were offering donations, volunteering, and we decided then to have meetings with the community and try to organize all that in one spot and how we were going to respond to that. So a forum was created, a community forum. In September 2015, we started the meetings with the staff, volunteers, and of course this picked up from there, and then we started with a refugee task network. This was very important because we centralized all the communication. Everybody who wanted to give a donation or everybody who had a house to rent, we started to create an inventory of houses that would be available. So started a media campaign as well in 2015. We had 29 presentations provided to the community groups, church, service clubs, sponsorships. And that's when I emphasized again, if it was not for the media and the support from the media, we would not have been able to do all that. So we also started to assisting privately sponsoring groups on how to start with the support. December 2015, then at that point in time, it was evident that Trenton would not be the destination, but we already had a lot of privately sponsored groups at this point in time, and we started working with them. So we had the first refugee task forum in Delville for service providers, sponsoring groups, school boards, and you can see the content where all aspects of social, religious, and cultural. We had an imam from Ottawa that came and did a very good presentation on that. This started to get to the frontline workers of other organizations an idea of the type of clients they would be dealing in the near future. So the same content was repeated in another municipality. 190 people attended. The goals for the two forums was to provide cultural awareness of about the refugees. And we have panel discussions in a webinar. If you can see that this is what it is. You can take a look at that at some time and see how the information was provided. Keeping in mind this was not for the refugees at that point in time, it was just for the service providers in the area. And it came as a response for all the meetings we had previously and the planning on that. So So research is one of the main things that we do every time we have a program. We have a lot of collaboration with the local colleges, and it's very important to have this type of collaboration because students colleges have a mandate to make sure that the students interact either through um, I wouldn't say a summer job, but if they work closely with us, we open our doors, we do some training on them as well. But one of the things we developed with this relationship with the college, mostly with the most advancing in the colleges, was a research department. And we started then collect information from all privately sponsors in the region, trying to see what demographics there would be and all that. And this is just for one program, but we apply the principle for other programs as well. Again, talking about this, you can see the type of refugees we started to think about and how, what could we do in terms of in the short term, but also on the long term. We knew that after a while, they would lose the sponsorship from the government or privately sponsored groups, and they would need to be integrated very quickly. We don't have large amount of jobs in the area, or we thought at that point in time we didn't. And then through this research process, we realized that actually there was a labor shortage. Also, during the research process, we found out that there was a lot of the refugees, they had some skills in agriculture because they had worked in agriculture before they came to Canada. In Syria, some of them had farms or had worked most of their lives in the agricultural sector. So we started thinking about maybe we should create a program that would put them back to work in the agriculture in Canada. And one of the ways to do that is to start providing them information about agriculture in Ontario. So this was when a Canadian Red Cross came in and said, okay, we could finance this program, just put us an application and we'll do that. OMAFRA was also very supportive. We talked to them, they liked the idea. They gave us licenses to all the materials that they had, technical information on agriculture in Ontario, and the licenses were so that we could translate those manuals into Arabic and use them as a training tool. So that's again when labor shortages suddenly became an opportunity, and we talked to the municipalities, we talked about to the economic development officers that this would be a good opportunity for the region to try and cut the shortages in agriculture, since we're going to have all this new population with skills already in agriculture. So this is, you can see on those slides, and I'm going to try to speed up through them because some of it is very depth into the program, but there's more information I want to give, and our time is, I believe, only 30 minutes. So we have the first information session in Belleville, as I said, November 15th, and we had all the refugees that had been subscribed, and that was a monumental amount of work. We had one staff speaking Arabic. He had to contact each person who had registered and fill in a form over the phone, and that form was provided to us in comparison with the NOC. NOC is the employment system and numbers through OMAFRA, and also we started talking to the potential employers and see what type of jobs they had. So we had to check the information that we got individually from each refugee and match with the employer's work and see if there would be a possibility later on to start a skills match event that we would put the refugees to talk together with the employers in Belleville, and then see if some of the jobs would land out of that. So that was a lot of work. If you're talking about 150 people that had to be interviewed over the phone, staff had to make the notations of this information into spreadsheets and then get the information through the other researchers from the employers and start matching those. So the second, so this is what I was talking before. This was part of it. You can see in that slide. I'll jump to the second one. The second stage of the project was accessibility to the agricultural labor force, and how the interview facilitation via interpretation and all that, providing operational training on site, monitoring progress of employers in the food industries. There was a lot of meeting we attended with employers. We visited some of the food processing plants, and it was that stage that we thought we were ready to have the event. And what happened as well is this suddenly started picking up in terms of interest from other cities in the province. The media is one thing. Once you start social media, it kind of explodes in terms of everybody wanting to know what you're doing. This sounds a good idea. And we started having requests from other cities as well. We had requests from Hamilton, London, Windsor, Mississauga. And when we started, okay, we were not as sure at that point in time if the program would just end up the first stage or if we would go on. And we said, okay, it's a pilot project, let's see how it goes. And if we have a second stage, we will do some presentations in other municipalities, which at this point in time, it has been approved for the second stage. We are intending to do this very soon. We already passed some of the information. This information is changing, though, at the measure that we are trying to get more funding to develop those workshops in the different cities. We also have developed a webinar that is being translated at this point in time. And this webinar is going to be distributed to all those agencies who have an interest in knowing a little bit more about the project. And if they have Syrian clients, Syrian refugee clients, we would really like to know that so that we can plan an event in their own city. Do not worry too much about funding and resources. We're working on that right now, so we'll be able to organize an event in your city. And the only thing we are really asking the agencies right now is if you have the clients, let us know how many do you have, how many would be attending, and then we can go from there. Apart from that, I guess I still have a few more minutes, so just...
Well, thank you very much, Orlando. I guess we can move to the question and answer period now.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can take questions either through the question box if you want to type them in, or if you prefer to speak, you can click on the little hand icon to raise your hand and we will unmute you. And so we'll just wait a moment. Mm-hmm.
So just to add, while we wait, feel free to also share, because in this best practice series, we're also interested in hearing what some of your promising practices look like. So anyone else who's online, who's perhaps working also in rural or more remote areas. So Orlando's example is one great example, but if you would like to add, or so it could be a question or it could be a short, brief description of something you've done as well, so that we can share these practices.
Okay, so I do have a couple of questions here. So the first is, well, first it says, thank you very much for the information provided. And it says, I'd like to know more about the refugees that you received in your area and for how long they have been served. Did the refugee have a specific caseworker or settlement worker following up with them?
Yes, we do. And one of the things that we do is we work very closely from the beginning with the sponsoring groups. We don't have any BVORs or GARs, except for in the latest, let's say, 2-3 weeks, we started noticing that some of those are second migrating to our region because they have found jobs. And this was one of the payoffs from the events that we had, the skills matching. Some of the farms are already contracting them. Others are going with self-entrepreneurship. There's a group of 10 refugees at this point in time. They just have received a course provided, and interpretation was also provided for that, from the health unity to handle food so that they can start a catering service. So it paid off the project because all the labor shortages we had are being fulfilled very quickly. And this is, again, was another challenge for us. We have At this point in time, we have three, I would say, two full-time settlement workers, and another one that we put with, funding from other sources. And if we think about the total number of clients we have, which is 1,250 approximately, and 2.5 frontline workers, it's quite a lot of, it's very intense, the amount of work they have to provide. But we've been managing this thanks to efficiency and also making sure that technology has been one of the supporters for that. One of the tools I recommend, it's also we purchased that from Ocas, is the OCMS. As we have federal and provincial funders, there's a lot of requirements in terms of reporting. And through this OCMS system, it's a one entry, and all the information is selected from this entry in the intake form when the first client approaches us. And that goes and talks directly to the other applications, iCares or the GCS or the provincial one, and it provides all the reports that goes to the different funders.
Thank you, Orlando. So there's just a follow-up question from the same person regarding the refugees. Were all of the ones you're referring to, were they sponsored, and what type of sponsorship? I know you mentioned that there weren't too many BVORs, but if you could just elaborate on that, please.
Yeah, we have 2 BVORs. A lot of them, a lot of the other ones are privately sponsored. I believe we have close to 28 families at this point in time. But we also have a lot of the refugees from Kingston, which has a reception center. And at the end of the 12 months, they attended one of the events. The last thing we did was a tour to the farm sites, and we had quite a number of people from Kingston attending it. Some of them are working with us in terms of relocation. There is one thing that we try to work with Ontario Works. They have certain funds for relocation of refugees if they find a job, and this is one of the things that we are doing right now.
Okay, great. Another question is, did you identify any other sectors with labor shortages in addition to the agricultural sector?
All the sectors have labor shortages in our region, and the reason why is the youth draft leaving the area to go to the big urban centers. So we are trying to reverse this, and we have quite a large industrial park in Belleville with different companies, large companies there, and we have been working with them to see if newcomers can actually replace those, or not replace, but fulfill those openings in their plans and all.
Okay, great. Another question about the length of the program. How long are the refugees in the agricultural program?
The second stage will end in March 31st, 2018, and that should be it. At that point in time, we've been talking with Amafra to see if a similar program is open for all newcomers based on the models and practices and the conclusions we had from the pilot project.
Okay, thank you. Another question from a participant in Windsor, Essex County area. So they are saying they had a field trip organized taking Syrian refugees to Essex County, Leamington, but the refugees couldn't find transportation there. What would you suggest in order to handle the transportation issue when trying to move people for information sessions in other areas?
I can tell you what we did in our area. Through the local immigration partnership, we approached some of the private bus companies and tax companies, and we also talked to the municipalities. They were very supportive about it. Some of the employers also subsidized the transportation. Belleville is the main hub for, and let's say that Prince Edward County, where they have all the farms, and it's quite a distance. But one of the big employers there, we talked, we facilitated the meeting between employers, the transportation companies, and the municipality, just because of licensing and all that. And nowadays, they have transportation from Belleville just for specific employers. They leave in the morning and they come back in the evening. So this is how we resolved that. It was the interest of the employer to make sure that they will have the people working, and then transportation was one of the issues that they solved.
That's great. Thank you. Another question regarding whether you have provided mental health services to refugees in the area.
Yes, as I mentioned before, we are located in a hub. It's a resource center for at a city building. CMAJ is in the same building. We have a very close relationship with them in a partnership, and we refer clinical cases to them. But also we are in constant contact if we have a specific cases. They can go for counseling there. They have now clinical counseling in the building as well.
And is there specific information that you provide, I guess in the style of handouts, or is it more just referral to that service?
No, we have handouts, and we also have community information sessions. Some of them are on mental health, some of them are related to post-traumatic syndrome. A lot of people, they would come with this type of trauma from war zones, and we had one person at the local base that came and did a very good information session. We had another one from Toronto, and people have attended that. So there is a support, constant support in terms of that. And I can tell you one thing is that those are clients with high needs, medical needs, but they're very well supported at this time.
That's great to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have a question about your social enterprise. So, so in addition to the interpretation and translation, the question is, do you also include language training services?
No, and the reason why this is the ESL and Link is a contract that is handled through the local school board, the Catholic school board. They're also in our building, and the classes are in our building, so we have basically the same clients, and we try to coordinate with them, best ways of managing that all our clients have first the language assessment. The assessor comes from Kingston weekly, and this is how it's handled there. So it's in the same building, the classes are in the same building, but that's not a contract we handle.
Right. Well, that sounds quite convenient to be co-located then.
Yeah, one-stop shop.
Okay. Another question. How are you empowering and taking into consideration the needs of refugee women?
Yeah, and this is also one of the big points. First of all, we look to the cultural aspects of how to handle that in a respectful way, and at the same time, there are groups now that have been formed for refugee women, and there is one thing we noticed. There is quite a distinction between those from urban centers and from rural areas in Syria. It's quite culturally different, and we, having this in consideration, we try to keep in fact that it's very different for the ones who are not very secular, the adaptation of cultural aspects of our region. But it's been working well in terms of having specific information for women only. And this has been, I think we had two information sessions on that. And this talks about, conditions of menial things sometimes, but it's very important to them, like shopping, food, locations. It's more like an orientation type of session, but from there you can also pick up other things and pass the information on. And when I say other things, it's information more of rights, the rights of women, family, domestic violence, and things like that. So information on laws and things like that.
Good, thank you. I don't see any other questions yet, although there have been a number of comments thanking you very much, Orlando. People are looking forward to having access to the recording as well. So just to let everyone know, that will be posted on the Settlement.Org wiki, and we'll share that link with you in a follow-up email after today's webinar.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Orlando. If you have any questions, please contact Lorraine or I at refugeesettlement.org. You will receive a follow-up email within 24 hours to about 48 hours, like Lorraine mentioned, with a link to today's recording, but also the upcoming webinars and the survey. We would really appreciate it if you could complete that survey to provide your feedback to us. It's incredibly important to us to hear what you think, and it affects how we plan and move ahead with further training opportunities. So we still have some time for questions, so if you want to still type some, go ahead. But just to let you know that our next webinar in the series is on Monday, this coming Monday. You'll find the link again on that wiki page, and it's on managing so-called high expectations of recently resettled refugee newcomers, and how to respond to that and how to handle that from the perspective of a frontline service provider. So I don't see any new questions. No? Okay. So yeah, thank you everyone, and thank you Orlando again for taking the time, for preparing, and for your great informative presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Orlando, and congratulations on everything you're doing in the Belleville area.
Thank you very much.